Hi everyone, Corey here with Team Cramer Fishing, and this video is going to be a review of Kastking's Sharky 2 1500 spinning reel, the one you see right here. I've seen a few other reviews on YouTube about the Sharky 2 spinning reel and the 1500. I've seen some different, this video is specifically about the 1500, not the 2000, 3000, and so forth. I have a 2000 and I have a bigger one too. I haven't used those as much. But a lot of the previous reviews that I've seen, or the other reviews that I've seen, are basically kind of people taking it out of the box. They spin it around, you know, they open the bail, they maybe pull the drag, you know, flip the little reverse, and then they tell you what they think. A couple other ones, either there was something people just didn't like right out of the box, or it wasn't quite working right and they needed to send it back on a couple of them. On another one, somebody just basically didn't like the feel of it. They like slapped it on their wife's rod and then she used it like 3 or 4 times and said they didn't like it as much as their, you know, Shimano or whatever other reel they were talking about. And then there's a couple, you know, pretty good reviews. So since I use this reel all the time, and I've been using it almost a year now, I'm going to say over 10,000 casts probably with the 1500 Sharky 2. I have a pretty good feeling for, you know, what it can do and whether it's a good reel or not. So the first thing that I think about when I get almost any product, but any kind of fishing tackle product, is just the ease of use. You know, when it comes to a fishing reel, I'm going to be using it 3 times a week probably, or more. This time of year I'm fishing almost every single day. But on average, you know, 3 times a week. So, and not in good, easy conditions a lot of times. It can be dark, it can be cold, it can be rainy, you know, windy, muddy. So it has to be relatively easy to use in like all those conditions. I don't want it to fail because, you know, I didn't use it exactly the right way that you have to do every single time. And so the reels just performed perfectly in that regard. I mean, I especially like the crank here. I mean, and the handle grip. I've never had my hand slip off the handle. You know, I've never grabbed. It's just really easy to grab and turn. I mean, I don't even think about it anymore, which is what you want. You want never to basically think about any of this stuff. The drag I've never had any problems with. It's always been smooth, although I will say nowadays I keep my drag set pretty tight, so I need to have a fish in the 4+ pound range before it really starts even pulling drag. And generally they make a quick run and I have them pinned, and that's usually all. Sometimes they can have a little bit of energy left in them. So I don't keep my drag set in such a way that, you know, even good sized fish are not going to be making long runs. But, you know, simple, easy to use. When I used to keep it set a little lighter, it was easy to sit down and crank it up, you know, if I hooked into a bigger fish. No problem there. So the next thing that I think about is just like what value am I getting? You know, how much money do I have to spend to get this sort of performance? And you know, the 1500 is like 37 bucks on Amazon. I mean, it's easy to buy, you know, the easiest place in the world basically to buy it, and it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, it's not a $25 reel, but for 12 or 13 more dollars, I mean, you're getting a lot of reel. So the next thing that I kind of think about is, how versatile is the reel? I'm a multi-species angler. I fish for everything that's basically in the lake. Big, small, doesn't matter. On any given day I might be fishing for it. So, and I might change my mind after I get to the lake. You know, if I get there and something's just not biting, you know, if bass aren't biting, I might want to fish for catfish. So, or, you know, any other kind of species. I might want to just go for little fish, sunfish. So I need something that can do all those things, preferably without me having to change reels out every single time, or just having whatever reel that I have just be way too big, or way too small. So the 1500 size for somebody who just likes to go out and fish for just whatever's in the lake at any given time is the perfect size. Now, I spool this most of the time with 6-pound mono, and I can catch 90% of the fish that are in the lake on 6-pound mono using this reel. If you go look at, I was going to post some video clips, but I'm like, all my videos, you know, 90% of the videos I'm using this reel, so just go look at any of them. I have 5-pound largemouth bass, 4-pound smallmouth bass, 8-pound carp. I mean, those are the biggest ones, and then I'll have, you know, days where I catch like 3-inch creek chubs. So it does a good job on all those. So most of the time it's spooled with 6-pound mono, but I've also spooled it with 20-pound braid, and it works really good too if you're going for some bigger fish, but you don't want a whole like giant tackle setup. 20-pound braid, you can hold about 150 yards of line. So I mean, if you're fishing in the ocean, that might not be enough. But I'm a freshwater fisherman, so you know, 150 yards, even if I don't have it spooled up all the way, if they get that far out on me, I'm probably not going to be getting them back in anyway. I mean, I haven't been spooled out on this reel yet. I'm sure a time will come where it might happen, but again, you're talking about a 0.001% chance anyway. And chances are, if that happens, the rest of your tackle probably isn't going to be set up for the muskie or whatever that you happen to hook into on accident someday, you know, or the gigantic flathead or something. You might be able to get it in still. I feel comfortable saying this reel could bring in a 20-pound fish pretty easily. 8 pounds is the biggest that I've caught on it so far, but I mean, they didn't even have a chance, you know, so they weren't even running line out at that point. So now if I was going out and catching 20-pounders every day, I think I'd scale up. But I mean, you know who you are. If you're that type of person, you're going to have a different setup probably than a 1500 series reel. So, but you can use this and still have a chance to land that occasional, you know, big old fish that comes along. No problem, really. So just to give me an idea of like my setup, I mean, I use a 6-foot Ugly Stick GX2 is my primary rod. This is the reel that has seen the most use. So the other one's kind of pretty shiny. It has a little scuff on it from traveling it in the car, but I mean, this has like water spots, mud, it's scraped up, it's beat up, it's dirty, you know, so, and it's every day it's getting used. You know, you can see, I mean, that drag's set tight and it's rolling out pretty smooth. So it works just fine still after nearly a whole year's use, to getting used several times a week. The other setup that I use that sort of lends to the versatility is I'll spool it up with 4-pound fluoro, and that's what I use when I'm fishing for trout. And you know, it holds a ton of line then. So, you know, you can trout and micro fishing. I was fishing for some little fish in the creek, so I have a tiny little hook on there right now because we're pretty much done with trout unless I want to travel here. So the other thing that lends to the versatility, if you know, a lot of people don't have a ton of money to spend on fishing equipment, and if they can get multiple uses out of a reel, you know, I mean, that's one less piece of equipment you have to buy. So when winter rolls around, I also use this for ice fishing. So, you know, I just screwed it on my little ice fishing rod. It's a little bit on the big side for ice fishing, but when it comes to buying another reel or just taking the reel that wouldn't otherwise be using, that would just be down in the basement or whatever for the winter, you know, basically I'm using the reel all year long for all different kinds of fish. So on the last thing I would think about would be the durability, and that blends into kind of the value you're getting for your money too. But the cosmetics on the durability side are probably going to be this reel's kind of weakest point, I think. So if you look, I mean, you can see that this little part here scuffs really easy. I mean, it's totally cosmetic. It doesn't hurt the reel at all. I have a big scuff, and then, you know, you can see all the dirt and stuff. I've dropped this reel, completely covered it in sand a couple times. And basically I just took it, dunked it in the river, let the water wash the sand off, and started using it again. I've dropped it in the lake before. You can see it on video. It's really funny. You know, completely underwater. They say it's waterproof for up to 5 minutes or something. And for, you know, freshwater fishermen like me, if it's underwater more than 5 minutes, I'm probably not getting it back. So, but yeah, I've had it dunked into the water. I've had sand on it. I've had, I don't know how much mud and stuff on it. And again, I usually just rinse it off and just keep rolling. The one that I've had for a year it's not quite as smooth, I guess, as like a brand new one, like pretty much out of the box. This one hasn't seen very much use but we did travel like on a 6,000 mile trip, and you'll see that it must have gotten rubbed up against something in the car. So it has a little scuff on it. But so, I mean, they scuff up relatively easily, I would say, but they're super light. And other than the cosmetics, like, I haven't broken anything off of them. And I don't treat these things nicely. I mean, you think about it, I'm in and out of the house, in and out of the car all the time. So for me, somebody who's, you know, used this reel at least 10,000 casts, I would say, and almost a year's use, it's a great value. And I'm probably going to be ordering a couple more. I think one for my daughter. One of these is actually hers. So, but since I'm using 3 poles sometimes now, I'm going to add a couple more, I think, just because I like them so much for the type of fishing that I'm doing. So if you're a multi-species fisherman, or even if you're just a bass fisherman and you want a good finesse reel, I mean, for your money, I don't think it can be beat, really. I'm ordering some more, and I'll keep using them until, you know, I see something that looks better, or you know, I have some kind of failure. So that's my review of the Kastking Sharky 2 1500. You know, you can do all sorts of things. I didn't talk quite as much about spooling it up with braid. I have done it, and I was running crankbaits with it with braid for a little while. I haven't used it a lot in you know, like heavy cover lily pads and things like that. I usually use a different setup for that, so I can't comment on it, you know, how the braid and everything work in that type of situation. But, you know, as far as I can tell, it would do just fine. So, you know, if that's the type of reel you're looking for, you want something that's very versatile, go out and check out the Kastking Sharky 2 1500. Thanks for watching Team Cramer Fishing, and I should have some more reviews coming up soon.